Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Listening Tips. Today, I'm going to talk about something really important: how you can speak English better than ever before. If you've ever felt stuck, like no matter how much you study, speaking still feels hard, you're not alone. So many learners feel the same way. But here's the good news: you can improve, and it doesn't have to take years. In fact, with the right techniques, you can start speaking better right away. My name is Emma, and I've helped hundreds of students improve their English speaking. In this video, I'll share practical tips and techniques that will help you become more confident and fluent in English. Have you ever wondered what separates fluent speakers from beginners? It's not that fluent speakers know all the words or never make mistakes. In fact, they make mistakes all the time. The real difference is confidence. Fluent speakers are confident in their ability to communicate, even when they don't know every word or grammar rule. They don't freeze when they forget a word. They keep going, and that's what makes them sound fluent. Imagine this: you're in a conversation and the words just flow. You're not thinking about grammar, you're not hesitating, you're just speaking. That's the goal. But how do you get there? Let me share something that might surprise you. Small changes in how you practice can make a huge difference. You don't have to completely change your study routine. You don't need to learn thousands of new words. What you need are a few simple techniques that will help you speak with confidence. So what's the first step? It's building the foundation of fluency, and that starts with confidence. If you don't feel confident, it's hard to speak well, but confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, and I'm going to show you how. Here's the truth: anyone can speak better than they did before, no matter their current level. If you've struggled with English, or if you've been afraid to speak, this video is for you. We'll go step by step, breaking down the process into easy techniques that you can start using today. But before we dive into the techniques, let's talk about why confidence matters so much. When you're confident, you're not afraid to make mistakes. You speak freely, and even when you mess up, you learn from it. Every time you practice speaking, you're building not just your language skills, but also your confidence. Here's a quote that I love from Winston Churchill: "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." This is especially true when it comes to speaking English. The more you speak, the more confident you become, and the more your fluency improves. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if I don't feel confident yet? Don't worry, that's totally normal. Confidence comes from doing. The more you speak, the better you'll get and the more confident you'll feel. Let me give you a small challenge to get started. Set a goal to speak English every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. You can practice with a friend, family member, or even by yourself. The key is to start speaking, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Now that we've talked about building confidence, let's dive into the first key technique that will truly help you speak better: active listening. You might think that speaking fluently is all about talking, but here's the truth: you can't speak well unless you listen well. Listening is the foundation of fluency. Think about this. When you listen, you're not just hearing words. You're learning how sentences flow, how native speakers connect ideas, and how certain words are pronounced. When you master listening, you'll find that speaking becomes easier and more natural. It's like filling your brain with the right tools before you start building. But not just any listening will do. You need to practice active listening. This means really paying attention to what you hear. You don't just let the words pass by. You focus on them, break them down, and absorb how they're used. Here's an example. When you're listening to a podcast, a story, or even a conversation, pay attention to how the speaker is structuring their sentences. Are they using short phrases or long sentences? How do they pronounce certain words? How do they express their ideas? Active listening means noticing these details and learning from them. One of the best ways to practice active listening is through shadowing. Shadowing is a technique where you listen to a speaker and immediately repeat what they say. It's like being their shadow, following their words as closely as you can. This is a powerful way to improve both your listening and speaking at the same time. Here's how you can practice shadowing. Choose a podcast or story. Pick something that's not too long or difficult. You can find great stories and podcasts for beginners on my channel, English Listening Tips. Listen carefully. Start by listening to a short sentence or phrase. Pay attention to the speaker's rhythm, tone, and pronunciation. Pause and repeat. As soon as the speaker finishes a sentence, pause the audio and repeat what they said, trying to match their speed and intonation. Keep going. Repeat this process for a few minutes each day. You'll notice that your pronunciation and fluency improve over time. Shadowing helps you get used to speaking without overthinking. You're not translating in your head. You're simply repeating what you hear, and this builds fluency naturally. But let me tell you something important. Don't worry about being perfect. When you're shadowing, you're going to make mistakes. Maybe you'll miss a word or pronounce something wrong. That's okay. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to get comfortable speaking without hesitation. The more you shadow, the more fluent you'll become. One of my students, Sarah, was really shy about speaking English. She was afraid of making mistakes, so she rarely spoke at all. I introduced her to shadowing, and it changed everything for her. She started practicing by repeating sentences from podcasts. At first, she struggled, but after a few weeks, she noticed that her sentences flowed more easily. Shadowing helped her build confidence, and soon she was speaking without fear. Here's a tip. Start with content that's slightly below your level. This will help you focus on pronunciation and rhythm without struggling to understand the meaning. As you improve, you can move on to more challenging content. Another powerful listening technique is to focus on specific sounds that are difficult for you. Every language has unique sounds, and English is no different. By paying attention to these sounds and practicing them, you'll improve your pronunciation and become easier to understand. We've already discussed the power of active listening and shadowing. Now let's move to a technique that may sound simple but is incredibly effective: repetition. You might wonder, why is repeating things so important? The answer is, repetition is how your brain learns to speak fluently without hesitation. Think of it like this. When you repeat words and phrases, you're training your brain to remember them quickly. The more you repeat, the more natural the words feel, and eventually, you'll be able to say them without thinking. It's like when you learn to ride a bike or memorize a song. You did it over and over until it became second nature. Speaking English is no different. Here's something interesting. Fluency isn't just about knowing a lot of words. It's about being able to use the words you know quickly and easily. Repetition helps you get to that point where you don't have to stop and think about grammar or vocabulary. You just speak. Let me share a story about one of my students, Paul. Paul knew a lot of English words, but he often hesitated when speaking because he had to think about what to say. I introduced him to the repetition technique. Every day, Paul would take 5 common phrases in English and repeat each one 5 times. It seemed boring at first, but after a week, Paul noticed something amazing. He could say those phrases easily and without hesitation. Repetition had worked its magic. So how can you use repetition to improve your speaking? Let's break it down. Repeat common phrases. Start by picking phrases you use often, like, "How are you?" or "What's your name?" Repeat these phrases out loud multiple times. This helps your brain get used to saying them quickly. You can do this while walking, cooking, or even in front of a mirror. The goal is to make these phrases feel natural. Use the mirror technique. The mirror technique is a great way to practice repetition. Stand in front of a mirror and say the same sentence 5 times. Watch your mouth move, focus on your pronunciation, and get used to seeing yourself speak English. This technique not only improves your fluency but also builds confidence, because it's like practicing with someone else. Combine shadowing with repetition. When you shadow a podcast or story, repeat the sentences as closely as you can to the original speaker. Then, after you've shadowed a few sentences, repeat those sentences again on your own. This combination turns what you hear into what you can easily say. Record yourself. Another way to practice repetition is by recording yourself. Choose a short passage from a podcast or a story. Read it aloud, record yourself speaking, then listen to the recording and repeat the sentences again. This not only helps with fluency, but also lets you hear your own progress over time. You'll notice that you sound more natural and fluent. Start small for big progress. You don't have to repeat long paragraphs or difficult phrases. Start small. Pick simple sentences like, I'm going to the store, I like reading books, or can you help me? And practice them daily. Small, consistent practice will lead to big improvements in your fluency. One thing to remember is that repetition doesn't mean being boring. Yes, you're repeating the same phrases, but you can mix it up by using different contexts. For example, practice the same sentence in the morning, then again in the evening, but this time pretend you're in a different situation, maybe talking to a friend or ordering food at a restaurant. There's another reason repetition is so powerful. It helps you build confidence. The more you repeat something, the more comfortable you feel saying it. And when you're comfortable, you speak without fear. The hesitation disappears and your words start to flow naturally. Speaking English doesn't have to feel like a chore. In fact, the more fun you have while practicing, the faster you'll improve. When learning is enjoyable, you naturally want to do it more often. Imagine this. Instead of forcing yourself to sit down and study, you actually enjoy speaking English. It's not about studying grammar rules or memorizing words. It's about having fun and feeling excited to use what you've learned. But how do you make practice fun? Let's explore a few techniques that will turn your speaking practice into an activity you love. Role-playing. Step into real conversations. One of the best ways to make speaking English fun is through role-playing. This is where you act out different situations as if you're really there. You can pretend to be ordering coffee at a cafe, having a job interview, or meeting new friends at a party. By role-playing, you're practicing real-life conversations in a low-pressure, enjoyable way. Here's how you can start. Pick a situation. Think of a common scenario where you might need to speak English, like asking for directions or ordering food. Create a dialogue. Write down a few sentences that you might need to say in that situation. Act it out. Do this alone or with a friend. Pretend you're in the actual place and use the sentences you've prepared. The great thing about role-playing is that it helps you get comfortable with everyday phrases and situations. Plus, it feels more like acting than studying, so it's much more enjoyable. Talk about what you love. Another way to make practice fun is by talking about your passions. Think about something you love, whether it's a hobby, a sport, a favorite movie, or a book. When you talk about things that interest you, the words come more easily, and you're more motivated to keep speaking. For example, if you love cooking, try talking about your favorite recipes in English. Describe how to make your favorite dish, or pretend you're teaching someone how to cook. The key is to pick a topic that excites you so you'll feel more engaged while practicing. Play speaking games. Who said language learning can't be a game? There are lots of speaking games you can play either by yourself or with a partner. These games challenge you to think and speak in English, but in a fun and lighthearted way. Here are some games you can try. 20 questions. Think of an object and have your partner ask yes/no questions to guess what it is. Describe and draw. Describe a picture to your partner and they try to draw it without seeing it. This helps you practice descriptive language. Story chain. Start a story with one sentence, then take turns adding sentences to continue the story. This improves your creativity and narrative skills. Word association. Say a word, and the next person has to say a related word quickly. This helps you build vocabulary connections. These games make you think on your feet and respond quickly in English, which is exactly what you need to do in real conversations. Practice with podcasts and stories. Another way to keep practice fun is by using podcasts and stories. Listening to stories and podcasts not only improves your listening skills, but also gives you great material to talk about. After listening, try summarizing the story in your own words or discuss it with a friend. Choose a topic that interests you, listen to the story, and then practice speaking about it. This way, you're learning from engaging content while practicing your speaking skills. On my channel, English Listening Tips, you can find many stories specifically designed for language learners. Change your environment. Sometimes a change in your environment can make practice more exciting. Instead of sitting at a desk, try practicing in different places. Go for a walk and describe what you see in English. Sit in a cafe and pretend you're having a conversation with the barista. The idea is to bring your practice into the real world. By changing where you practice, you keep things fresh and interesting. Plus, practicing in real-life environments helps you get comfortable speaking English in everyday situations. Celebrate your progress. Don't forget to celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Did you speak in English for 5 minutes without stopping? Did you successfully role-play a conversation? Celebrate that. Recognizing your progress is a great way to stay motivated and keep practicing. As Dale Carnegie once said, people rarely succeed unless they have fun in what they are doing. This applies perfectly to language learning. When you enjoy the process and celebrate your progress, you're much more likely to continue and improve. So far, you've learned how to make English practice fun with role-playing, speaking games, and podcasts. But what happens when you feel stuck? When the words just don't come out and you're afraid of making mistakes? These speaking blocks are normal and every learner experiences them. The key is to understand how to overcome them. Let's start by recognizing one thing. Making mistakes is part of the learning process. One of the biggest reasons people feel blocked is the fear of saying something wrong. But here's something important to remember. Even native speakers make mistakes when they talk. What matters is that you keep speaking. The more you speak, the more confident you'll become, and the easier it will be to push through those blocks. Here are some techniques to help you overcome speaking blocks. Embrace mistakes as learning opportunities. Imagine you're having a conversation and suddenly you forget a word or say something wrong. What do? Most people freeze up or stop speaking entirely. But here's what you should do instead. Keep talking. Don't worry about getting every word right. Just focus on communicating your message. Describe the word in another way. If you can't remember a word, explain it using different words. Stay in the conversation. The important thing is to keep going. Let me tell you about one of my students, Daniel. He was so worried about making mistakes that he would freeze whenever he tried to speak English. I told him that mistakes are not failures. They're opportunities to learn. We worked on building his confidence by practicing simple conversations. And I encouraged him to keep speaking even when he wasn't sure of the right words. Over time, Daniel learned that the more he spoke, the more his confidence grew, and the less those mistakes bothered him. Use self-talk to break through blocks. When you don't have anyone to practice with, Self-talk can be your best tool for overcoming speaking blocks. This technique is simple but powerful. All you have to do is talk to yourself in English out loud, as if you're having a conversation. You can do this while doing daily tasks like cooking, walking, or getting ready for bed. Here's how self-talk works. Describe your day. Talk about what you did today, where you went, or what you plan to do tomorrow. Ask yourself questions. For example, what do I want to eat for dinner? Then answer in English. Practice situations. Imagine you're at a restaurant or meeting someone new and practice what you would say. One of my students, Sophie, felt blocked because she didn't have a speaking partner. I introduced her to self-talk and she started practicing English every day while doing her morning routine. Over time, Sophie noticed that her confidence grew and speaking English felt more natural. Use shadowing when you're stuck. When you feel blocked, shadowing can help you keep moving forward. By listening to a podcast or story and repeating what the speaker says, you're practicing real conversation patterns without the pressure of coming up with your own sentences. Start with short, simple sentences and work your way up to longer conversations. Shadowing helps you build fluency because you're practicing both listening and speaking at the same time. Plus, it helps you overcome speaking blocks by giving you the words and phrases you need to keep talking. Remember, you can find plenty of stories and podcasts to shadow on my channel, English Listening Tips. These are great for practicing because they're designed for learners and will help you build fluency step by step. Role-play challenging situations. Another great way to overcome speaking blocks is by role-playing difficult conversations. Think about the situations that make you feel the most nervous. Maybe it's giving directions, having a job interview, or talking about a complicated topic. Practice these situations with role-playing until they become easier. For example, if you're nervous about giving a presentation in English, practice giving that presentation out loud to yourself. Or if you're worried about having a conversation with a native speaker, role-play that situation in your head. The more you practice these challenging scenarios, the more confident you'll feel when they happen in real life. Stay positive and persistent. Finally, overcoming speaking blocks requires a positive mindset. It's easy to get frustrated when things don't go perfectly. But remember this: progress is more important than perfection. Every time you speak, you're getting better, even if it doesn't feel like it. Celebrate the small wins like successfully completing a conversation or learning a new phrase. As Thomas Edison said, "Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time." If you keep practicing, even when it feels hard, you'll break through those speaking blocks and become a more fluent, confident speaker. Practice in real-life situations. One effective way to overcome speaking blocks is to practice speaking in real-life situations. Go to places where you can use English: cafes, markets, online language exchanges. The more you practice in real-world settings, the easier it becomes to push past the fear and hesitation. One of the best ways to practice in real life is by talking to native speakers. But what if you don't know any native speakers? Don't worry, in the next chapter, I'll show you exactly how to find speaking partners, even if you live in a place where English isn't commonly spoken. Now that you've learned how to overcome speaking blocks with techniques like self-talk, shadowing, and role-playing, let's talk about how to take your fluency even further. One of the best ways to improve your speaking is by practicing with speaking partners. Finding someone to speak English with, whether online or in person, can make a huge difference in your progress. You might be wondering, what if I don't have anyone around me who speaks English? This is a common concern for many learners. But fortunately, in today's connected world, there are many ways to find speaking partners, even if you live in a place where English isn't commonly spoken. Here are some effective ways to find speaking partners. Language exchange apps and websites. There are many free apps and websites designed to connect language learners. You can find people who want to learn your native language while you learn English. It's a win-win situation. Some popular options include Tandem, connect with language learners worldwide. Hello Talk, chat with native speakers through text, voice, and video. italki, find conversation partners or professional teachers. Speaky, practice languages with people from around the world. Conversation exchange, find local or online language partners. These platforms make it easy to find speaking partners from all over the world. You can practice through text messages, voice messages, or video calls, depending on what you're comfortable with. Join online English clubs. Many websites host regular English conversation clubs where learners can practice speaking together. Some are free, while others charge a small fee. These clubs are usually led by a teacher or facilitator who can help guide the conversation and correct mistakes when needed. The advantage of conversation clubs is that you get to practice with multiple people at once, which helps you get used to different accents and speaking styles. Plus, there's usually a topic or activity planned, so you don't have to worry about what to talk about. Find local language meetups. If you live in a city, there might be language exchange meetups happening near you. Check websites like meetup.com or local Facebook groups to find events where people gather to practice languages. In-person meetups are great because they give you the experience of real-life conversation, including body language and facial expressions, which are important parts of communication. Plus, you might make new friends who share your interest in languages. Take online classes with conversation practice. Many online English courses include conversation practice with teachers or other students. This can be a great way to improve your speaking skills with guidance from a professional. While some courses can be expensive, there are also affordable options, including group classes where you can practice with other learners. The advantage of learning with a teacher is that they can give you specific feedback on your pronunciation and grammar. Join English-speaking communities based on your interests. One of the best ways to practice English is by talking about things you love. Join online communities related to your hobbies or interests where English is the main language. This could be a gaming community, a book club, a cooking forum, or anything else that interests you. When you talk about topics you're passionate about, you'll be more motivated to communicate, even if your English isn't perfect. Plus, you'll learn vocabulary related to your interests, which is more useful and memorable than generic textbook words. When practicing with speaking partners, here are some tips to make the most of your conversations. Prepare topics in advance. Before your conversation, think of a few topics you'd like to discuss. This can help prevent awkward silences and ensure that you practice a variety of vocabulary. Ask open-ended questions, questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no. Don't encourage much conversation. Instead, ask questions that start with why, how, or what do you think about? These questions invite longer, more detailed responses. Be a good listener. Conversation is a two-way street. Practice your listening skills by paying attention to what your partner says and responding appropriately. This shows respect and helps you learn from how they speak. Take notes on new expressions. After your conversation, write down any new words or phrases you learned. This will help you remember them for next time and gradually build your vocabulary. Schedule regular practice sessions. Consistency is key to improving your speaking skills. Try to schedule regular conversations with your speaking partners, even if it's just once a week. Regular practice helps build the habit of speaking English. Be patient with yourself. Remember that everyone learns at their own pace. Some days your speaking will flow easily, and other days it might be more difficult. That's normal. The important thing is to keep practicing. Remember, the goal of practicing with speaking partners is not just to speak, but to communicate. Focus on expressing your ideas clearly and understanding what your partner is saying. Don't worry too much about making mistakes. The more you practice, the fewer mistakes you'll make over time. As you practice with different partners, you'll gain confidence, improve your pronunciation, expand your vocabulary, and become more fluent. Speaking partners can also provide valuable feedback and encouragement on your language learning journey. We've covered a lot in this video, from building confidence to finding speaking partners. Let's recap the main points. Build confidence through consistent practice. Remember, confidence comes from doing, not from knowing everything perfectly. Use active listening and shadowing to improve your fluency. These techniques help you absorb natural speech patterns. Practice repetition to make English feel natural. The more you repeat, the more automatic your speaking becomes. Make your practice fun through role-playing, games, and topics you love. When you enjoy learning, you'll stick with it longer. Overcome speaking blocks by embracing mistakes and using techniques like self-talk. Don't let the fear of making mistakes stop you from speaking. Find speaking partners to practice real conversations. Regular practice with others is one of the fastest ways to improve. Remember, speaking English well doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, practice, and patience. But with the techniques we've discussed, you can start improving right away. Here's my challenge for you. Choose one technique from this video and practice it every day for the next week. It could be shadowing, repetition, self-talk, or any other technique that resonated with you. Then, in the comments below, let me know which technique you chose and how it's working for you. I believe in you, and I know that with practice, you can speak English better than ever before. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on English listening tips. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to English listening tips, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future English learning videos. Your support motivates me to create more helpful content for you. Until next time, keep practicing, and remember, every word you speak brings you one step closer to fluency.